Hello, my love. We've got a fun little texturized, I was gonna say background, but it's like on me, so it's not a background, layover today to get started. Today I'm feeling very heavy in my heart, but even heavier in my solar plexus. I feel like there are some energies moving up and passing through that are just, they're blocks, they're energy blocks. You may have been experiencing recently, like, I don't know, just some moments of like past versions of you existing. I want to say mostly within your mind, okay? I'm seeing the Swords suit from tarot, so I feel like a lot of this has to do with your mind more than like your physical body. But I do feel like there's been a lot of clearing recently. Like, my throat chakra is clamming up as I'm trying to talk, literally. So what I'm feeling is that there's been these old, I want to say it's old ways of thinking, or like if you think about, if you think, if you kind of like take note and step into you, like, I want to say like 3 years ago, and think about the way that you perceived a lot of things and the way that you were experiencing reality, or even go deeper, like maybe like 6 years ago, and just like the ways that you thought about certain things. A lot of the energy that's been rising up that I've been feeling is a lot of comparison, to be completely honest with you. And the comparison is really difficult because it's almost like, it's like a comparison that's being used tactfully. Is that a word? It's comparison that's being used to basically benefit in growth, but it's like this energy that's coming from a place it's coming from a lack energy versus coming from an energy that is fully in servitude of your highest self, okay? Now, as always, with channeled messages, you're going to know and feel if this message is for you. That just got so bright. Bear with me today because I'm in the sun directly, and I'm going to do my darndest to try and like, see, I have to be closer to you guys. The sun's kind of funny. But anyways, there's definitely this energy of like avoidant energy, okay? It's avoidant, okay? You're being avoidant. And you're being avoidant in a way that's like, I think it's because, or I'm feeling that it's because you're about to break through this, like, I'm seeing you're about to shed this old version of you, okay? There's a shedding happening. And it's almost like, I'm thinking of snake skin. So like, you know how a snake like births their new body before they shed the skin, but then they really have to be so uncomfortable to shed that skin, and they have to like wiggle out of it, and like it's almost like it's itchy and it's uncomfortable, and it's like it comes to the surface and you have to like struggle almost to get it completely off of you. That's kind of the energy that I'm feeling. Like, it's almost like you're shedding, and you're shedding this old version of you, and this old version, as you're like wiggling out of this version of you, it's like these past ways of like thinking or being or perceiving yourself or putting yourself next to others. Oh, that's a big one. Putting yourself next to others. Like, it's like they're existing in your mind, because it's like, what I'm seeing is every time that you move through the skin, you like hit the skin on an edge, and it graces your new being, your eternal being that you are right now, right? And as it graces it, it's almost like that energy comes to the surface, and you're having to like almost like face this old version of you and realize and recognize like basically who you've been before. And in order to like really truly let that skin go, you have to say goodbye, but first you have to look at yourself. And so there's this energy of like these versions and these perspectives and these like thought patterns that you have been working through or like existing in before. They're all like coming to the surface. and they're coming to the surface so that you can look at them, but there's just this crazy uncomfortable energy with looking at them because you're realizing how mean you've been to yourself. This is a really honest message, okay? So unless you can handle the truth, but you've just, in the past, and I feel like through a lot of your life, like, this is such a heavy message. You just haven't realized how hard you've been on yourself and how mean you've been to yourself, because you've existed in this world where people were mean. And I'm hearing that, like, recently maybe you've been noticing that, like, you've been noticing the way that people talk, or like when someone puts something down that you have done or do or exist within, you're like extremely aware right now, okay? You're extremely aware of people's subtle comments that are demeaning to who you are or what you are doing, or like you being, you know that saying that's like, it's only delusional until it happens? Like, you're only being delusional until your reality exists in that perspective. Like, that's just so true. And right now with that, like, you're in between that, like, reality coming to the surface and it being delusional, like crazy delusional, right? Like, you're in between. And so because you're in between, you're just like extremely aware of these comments others make, even though there's this part of you so deep inside of you that just knows that it's coming to fruition, right? And that's kind of your driving source right now, is just like that gut feeling. I'm seeing Dochi. One of her videos came up on my feed today, but like literally she has this old video that's like going around right now where she's basically talking and she's like, I've always had this gut feeling that I just knew that this was gonna happen. And then it cuts to the scene of her just like on stage recently winning her award. Like, this is such oh, this energy. I just feel like because you're in that in-between, like, it's that uncomfortable shedding of that version of you that couldn't hold your new reality, right? And this deep, like, utter awareness is coming from this new version of you, this new skin. And you're seeing the ways that people have been and the ways that you have actually, like, in those moments of recognition, it's like you're seeing the ways that people have looked or spoken to you specifically. Like, I'm hearing, like, because everything is programming, right? And I talk about this a lot. This is like literally the subject that I'm talking about in the book that I'm writing, is programming your mind. Like, my whole life I grew up with my dad, and my dad is an engineer and like a programmer. And so all my life, like growing up, my dad would tell me things and he would say, your mind is a computer. Your mind is a computer. You are the person that's writing the code of your mind. And so my whole life, like, and my whole story and everything that I am is like built on the concept of like, our minds are literally just, they're human versions of computers, like our brain. And we literally get to choose the code that goes in to tell the reality that exists, right? And so the thing is that when you're so young, like, you just don't understand that. And like, I feel very lucky now to be in the place that I'm at, because I realized, like, I had a dad who told me I was in control and that I was the coder. And I feel like a lot of people don't get that opportunity, right? So like, obviously that's a huge part of like, I'm sharing my voice to help you guys understand that you're the coder, right? I was built to share these messages to help people realize that they're the magician. And I'm an internal between like physical and like spiritual, because I'm like raised by fucking engineers, and then I'm so fucking spiritual and I went off the fucking woo-woo path, right? Which I just think is so funny. But again, like, I have been told my whole life, like, everything is code. And so it's almost like you're having these realizations where, like, when someone says something to you, maybe someone from your old life, or even someone from, like, I want to say, like, younger years, right? Like, you might still be connected to the communities that you grew up within, and it's like those kinds of people. It might not be exactly that, like, and you might not be choosing to be around these people, you know, like, it's just like these experiences that are happening for you right now, that are coming around, like the people that you're around, that you're witnessing, that haven't realized yet, right? It's like that red pill, blue pill thing. Like, they haven't taken the pill that like removes the glasses and opens the reality of truth, right? And so they're like mindlessly almost like existing within these, again, like a place where you've been before. So it's almost like you're getting the opportunity to realize this compassion for people, right? And this compassion for like how they just don't realize, right? And you're seeing this because you're seeing the things that they say, the comments that they say, but then your soul self is so strong right now. Like, that's the thing, your soul self is so bright and so strong right now that when they say those things, you're like, whoa, like they just put me down, even though you know intentionally they didn't mean to do that. It's actually just their coding from what they've been taught. And so you're realizing that that coding is actually the same coding that has taught you for so much of your life. So now moving back, like how we were talking about how you've just kind of been really mean to yourself, and it's just the honest to God truth. Like, growing up, like, you didn't realize you were being mean to you because that was just the coding that you were taught, like, and you weren't aware of it being coding, right? So it's almost like, I'm just gonna give an example, right? It's like you had someone in your life, let's say a parent figure, okay? Just for an example, this might not relate to everybody, but again, like, it's an analogy. We use analogies a lot here. But you had a parent figure, and let's say that they believed something specifically, right? And they thought that, like, let's use spirituality because I'm spiritual, okay? So let's say that I have a parent figure and they believe that you can't make money spiritually. You have to get a 9-to-5 job. This is a great example because I feel like so much of our society is moving out of this concept because we're just breaking the paradigm right now, like at a mass level, and we're proving that you don't have to actually do that, and that you can live in union with your soul's purpose and like your source center and like whatever truly brings you passion, right? And most of us aren't there yet. Like, we're at this, wow, this is such a powerful message. A long time ago, like 4 months ago, I made one of my first videos and I said, welcome to the new earth. And I haven't really talked about the new earth since then. And it's cool that this is actually coming through right now. But then there's this concept, okay? I have read dozens of books on Dolores Cannon, okay, and her work. And she coined this hypnosis technique. She basically created it, and it's called QHHT, Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique, okay? And it's basically this healing technique where you can put someone so deep into a state of hypnosis that you can ask their highest self or source collective energy to come through. And so she has books on books on books on books of her work doing this with people, like actual work doing this, okay? And I'm so inspired by this, and I've read all these books, which is kind of where a lot of the information that I pull from comes from, because I just like truly, it lights my soul up. I totally believe in it. And of course we all choose what we believe in, but like I do believe that like deeper in consciousness, it's almost like, if you guys have seen Supernatural, I think this is so funny. Maybe you haven't, but in Supernatural they bring in like seasons like 6, 7, 8, 9-ish, I feel like, they bring in angels and demons and like the concepts. It's basically everything biblical from any book possible, and they bring it all into real life as if everything is actually real. But then they finally bring in angels, and they go through and they start to bring in angel tablets and demon tablets, and they bring in scribes, and they bring in like people who can read the tablets. And when they have these like concepts come in, they basically they can like capture angels, which is kind of crazy, right? So they capture angels, or they capture a angel. I can't remember what his name is, Ezekiel or something, I feel like. and they basically start wiring into his head. So the soul angel essence is in a human body, and obviously like a lot of our concepts, like we try to put them into human terms because we can't comprehend further, but they basically take this angel essence that's in a human body and then they drill into the angel essence, and in concept, the soul or the angel essence is in the head, right? So through the head, because the angel's essence takes over every vessel of the body, they're able to drill into the hole. And because an angel would like heal so quickly, they don't die, obviously, right? Like we would die. But they put these like wires into the head and all these, or not wires, but like metal things, right? And then they twist them, and it's extremely painful, but it's almost like as they twist them, they're able to hit like a baseline coding, okay? Where the angel's like coding and information is hidden, like their name, what they exist for, like XYZ, right? I was going somewhere with this. I like feel like I have to sit down so that the sun can like show me. This is such a cool reading. But anyways, so there's like that base coding, right? So they like get in and they access that base coding. And so what's happening right now is that as we're moving to the new earth, because I was talking about the new earth, I'm going to try and link everything back together here. That's kind of like my favorite thing to do. If you guys don't know me, I do that in all of my books and all my writing too. I link everything back together because I just think that's like so cool to have it come like full circle. So bear with me. We're definitely in one on this message. But anyways, they like come to the base coding, right? This whole message is about code, which I just think is really fucking cool. It's literally so awesome. And the new earth, basically what's happening is like, well, Dolores Cannon like talks to these people and puts them into this trance, and it's kind of the same concept as like what I just talked about with the angels, right? So like you get in and you get to their base coding where then they aren't really present, but their soul, their deeper soul essence and their coding from heaven is present. And so that's kind of what Dolores Cannon does, but in a way that like makes sense in our world. And so she puts you into this extremely deep state of trance. It's like 5 hours in or something. I'm gonna do it one day, I swear. One day I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna find a practitioner and I'm gonna do it. So if you're a practitioner and you're watching my videos, universe, like I want to do it. So reach out to me because I want to find out. I want to talk to my highest self. But anyways, so Dolores like takes people down and then she has their highest consciousness come through. And I've read so many books on this. There's literally, I don't even remember the exact number. It's like, let's see if I can find it. It's crazy, you guys. Dolores Cannon, hours of I don't know how I would find this. Dolores Cannon, how many people did she work with? It's like a crazy amount. I don't even know like if I could tell you for sure. Yeah, it's gonna be too hard to find. Anyways, I'm sure you get the gist. Anyways, she's done like thousands and thousands of hours of this, right? Just like deep diving. She's dead, by the way. I don't know if you guys know who she is, but she's like crossed over. I feel like she comes through to a lot of people to help share her message and her essence and this connection also. But anyways, so she like does this to human beings and she has their soul consciousness come through. And so I've just listened to like hours and hours and hours of tapes of people like in their connected to their soul conscious, like coming through. And like I've listened to her like rewrite, or I don't know if she's the one that technically finished all of her books. I kind of think someone else did it because it sounds like, anyways, that does not matter, you guys. I'm just talking now. Anyways, she basically does this in real coding. And so then through all of this information that I read of hers is how I was able to learn about the new earth. And basically what's happening and what this is in this time of life is that we are moving into the new earth. So it's almost like if you have a really strong imagination, I just want to say I love you guys. This is such a different message than the other ones that I record. This is very deep and just like a hangout message, and I love you. Thanks for being here and hanging if you're here. Okay, I'll get back in this light. So basically the earth is like, use your imagination, the earth is splitting. So imagine that there's one earth and then all of a sudden there's two earths. And there's an old earth and there's a new earth. Well, technically for you guys, if I was doing this would be the old earth and this would be the new earth, right? And so that's kind of what's happening. And like, as we're shifting, there's like this huge paradigm shift that's happening where people are becoming aware and they're stepping into their awareness, which is where we started this message originally. Is that we're all slowly becoming aware, and it's this like massive transformational time for humanity on planet Earth specifically. And that's like where we're at currently. So that's like where this awareness is coming from and all this like deep shedding is coming from, right? And kind of, let me take a sip of my drink. Whew, this message is, can you guys tell when I like have so much energy moving through my system? So much information. I'm just like, okay. So then there's this shedding that's happening within you. So we're pulling it back to you now, right? So there's this shedding that's happening, and it's because you're in one of the more newer waves, okay? So I'm gonna pull a little bit more information from Dolores here. So if you were to read the books, you would kind of find out about 3 waves of souls that are coming to Earth to assist in the awakening and activation of Earth. And basically there were first generation souls, second generation souls, and then third generation souls. And I actually think there's some other kinds of souls too that I haven't really like, there's still more information to tap into, but there's certain people like golden children and indigo children, and I think those are like the next generation of souls, but they could also be linked to or connected to the first 3 generations of souls and like rebirthed is what I'm getting. I feel that way, but you know, like I wouldn't know for sure. But anyways, so there's like the first 3 generations, and like the first generation came like, gosh, I want to say the first generation was like imported into Earth around like all of the 1900s, maybe even earlier. There might have been a couple in like the 1800s, and then the 1900s, all of the 1900s, and then the second wave I'm feeling like started near the end of the 1900s and has been going, and I'm feeling like the third wave has begun of souls that are coming in, but I think that majority of them are younger, because I feel like I'm a second wave soul from what I can tell. I wish I was a third wave soul, but you know, I don't know, man. I can't tell for sure. I could be, but I'm just an older soul, so I'm not like a newer soul with 0 karma. Like, I've had a lot of karma. So I'm like, I definitely don't think I'm a third wave. But anyways, so we're coming in and we're like going through this mass like separation of like the new Earth and the old Earth, which is like also at the same time, imagine this is like that same like shaking of the old skin. Okay, so like now going back to the beginning, like that snake skin, is the old Earth. It's that old way of perceiving, and so that's why it's extremely uncomfortable and hard. I really hope you guys, I can get closer. The sun's just like changing. Okay, hi. So anyways, there's like that shedding of that old skin, and that old skin and that old way of being is that old coding, which is like how you've experienced reality before, and like how you're recognizing that some people haven't woken up, right? Like some people still are mindlessly living in that realm, in that world. And obviously, like, I just don't believe that you're watching these videos if you haven't had your first awakening. Like, I just feel like even if you don't, awakenings are different for everybody, but like you would just know that you've had like a sense of an awakening because there's like, you're just aware. I don't know how else to explain it, but like, it's like you just notice things that other people don't notice, you know? You could even be a soul that's like, you just notice that things are beautiful and other souls don't. And like, you're like, how are you complaining about that when like the freaking sun is right there. Like, bro, like, you know? And you might not realize that that's like an awakening. Like, spirituality is so much deeper than like just all the woo-woo stuff that I talk about, right? Like, and all the like wild shit that we get into here. But like, it's also just like true spirituality is like presence of life. And it's just like being aware of like your surroundings and like being able to be grateful and like appreciative of those surroundings, right? And so you may have already had your first awakening and you just don't realize it wasn't, your first awakening wasn't meant to be a specific way, right? It was meant to be what was the best for you and what would affect the most people here vibrationally, because that's kind of like the whole thing is that we're elevating the earth, right? So anyways, you've been moving through this, like, oh, the uncomfortable energy is coming back, this like shedding, right? And you're just like, you're recognizing that like you had taken on this coding from all these beings, and it's this coding of like most of your life you spent time like in a construct. I'm getting very claustrophobic, like swallowed whole by like the way people believed. Like, it's almost like there was so much belief and constriction in belief that like you didn't even know that you could not believe that. Like, it's almost like I'm getting the narration of like sheep, kind of like when you watch like animated movies and stuff. Oh, let's use WALL-E. WALL-E's a great movie. You know how WALL-E's like, there's the robots and it's about the robots, but like the people are like sheep. Like, they're just on these little machine chairs and they just drink their sodas and they just walk around, and it's like sheep, and they don't even believe, they just like receive. It's literal programming. And like, we can get into this one day, but like, I don't know if I'm ready for that yet. But kind of like all the content that we receive, all the content that we watch, like, it's like you have to be careful what you're watching because it's all coding and it's being programmed into you. And so that's like something that you went through most of your life, was to be coded in a certain way so that you could realize your exit out of the coding is kind of the energy that we're receiving here. So that's what you're like doing right now. So like, you're recognizing that these people have been so mean, and like they make comments. Like, we use the example of like, I have a parent that doesn't believe I can make money spiritually, and so like my whole life I grow up thinking that I can't make money spiritually, right? And it's because like that was the concept or that constriction of coding that I grew up within, thinking that I can't do that, right? And like, I've broken free of that, and like now I realize, let's say that I'm like sitting with, let's use my mom. My mom's actually pretty spiritual. She believes in this shit. So this is totally just an analogy. But like, let's use my mom. Let's say my mom like says something like, I'm like, oh yeah, mom, like I made a tarot account. Like, I'm so excited. Like, I do readings for people and it feels so good and I'm actually making money. And she's like, yeah, but like, do you have a backup plan? Like, what about like reality? You know, like those kinds of comments, okay? And so that kind of mean energy, right, like comes back around and like programs into the back of your mind. And what I'm seeing is that recently you have been realizing when people say this stuff, okay? So I really hope that this is coming through and making sense, because it's like you're recognizing when people say things that you're like, oh, that's coding, and they might not notice that, or you're just like, whoa, like I don't talk to myself in that way. But then, okay, so here's like the real thing. So then recently, like, you're in this skin, right, and you're like, ah, and then you like hit the edge and you're trying to get out of this skin, and it graces along you, and it's that specific coding. So it's almost like that part of you is coming to the surface, and an old thing that you used to do. I'll give you an example of mine. I still compare myself a lot with people. I started my journey on social media like a long time ago. And it's a superficial journey, right? Like, it's difficult. It's really hard to choose yourself and to not put yourself against other people. And I still struggle with it today, like I do. And that's the truth of the matter. That's why I'm like even able to talk about this, is because like I'm taking my shadows and I'm twisting them and assisting in our growth together as a collective, is how this is moving through, right? Because I read the energy, and in order to read the energy, you have to move through the energy. So it's definitely like stemmed from things that I personally experience all the time, right? And so for me, like, for example, I used to love this specific model, and I loved her so much back in the day, and I just like looked up to her, and I didn't know her at all. I just like believed her online persona, and I didn't like myself. And so because she was just an online persona to me, I actually ended up projecting all of like my qualities of who I wanted to become onto her. So I thought she was this god. I literally put her in a position of being a god in my eyes, and I thought she was so incredible. And luckily for me, I actually met her. And I met her and spent time around her and realized who she actually was. And it's not that she wasn't cool. She was cool. She just wasn't who I projected her to be, because that was actually projections of myself, right? And I still like, I mean, like back then I just wanted to be her so bad because I hated myself. I hated who I was. I hated the way I looked. And it was because I grew up in this world where I just didn't feel like I would ever be enough, right? Like I just didn't feel, as much as I am appreciative of everything that I went through. Like I see the journey, I see the story now. But like back then I felt so unworthy and unloved and unwanted, and like I felt invisible. Like I felt like I literally didn't exist sometimes. And I lived vicariously through this persona of this girl, thinking that one day I could be that, even though I already had all those qualities that I had projected onto her, right? But like back then I didn't know that. I didn't see that. I was unaware. I was a sheep. And well, I was a dragon pretending to be a sheep. Right? And I like ended up meeting her and like getting to know who she actually was, and like that was just such a gift to me to like get to see that, because that crushed every concept of what I had believed. And I was like, holy shit, like social media is fake. Right? I was like, it's all a game. Like, and learning all of that was so important for me to end up coming into this position where I actually am like an authentic version of myself, and I can talk to you guys, right? This is a lot. I usually try not to talk about this stuff, but like, because it's all going in my book, but it's just one video, right? Of all the videos, is this one really gonna go viral? We'll see. Probably not. But those who are meant to see this video, I know will find this video, because there's a lot of like ooey gooey goodness, random stuff to relate to and like talk about in this video specifically. But anyways, so like even still to this day, if I see that girl's content come up, I still recognize and experience that old version of me that compared myself to her, who looked at her and thought she was a god. So sometimes I still look at her and I'm like, God, she's just like crafted by surgeons, but she's also crafted by God, like, and she's meant to be that person, you know, like she's exactly who she's meant to be. And what she gave me in that inspiration is like, I would never change a single thing, right? And I love that. I love that for her, and I love that for me. And separately, very far away from each other, but like, I love that, right? And the issue though is that it's like for me, that skin that I'm hitting, right? That skin that I'm hitting is like when that stuff comes up. So but it's actually not just like her, okay? So for me, I recognize it because it happens when I'm on social media specifically, and it's not the act of seeing her as a god, it's the act of seeing others' creations as a god. Because over time in my social media journey, I have like, this is such a private message. What am I don't know. Spirit's taken over. This is on Spirit. Anyways, I go online and like even to this day, like I still find that it's that underlying energy of comparison, okay? So like I go online and like as a photographer, like I'm editing a set of photos right now, and like I'm like, oh, it's so good, it looks amazing. But the second I go online to look at how other people edit, like I look up all my favorite photographers and they're fantastic, right? But I put them in God's place because I'm like, these people, like people love their content so much, even though like I know I'm just as good as they are, right? It's just different, and I'm on a different journey and I'm still learning that, right? But like I still do that same, it's that same thing that I did with that girl, but it's like it's transformed and been placed into a different position. So it's like it's that thought pattern, right? That's why I always talk about thought pattern. That's why I always talk about like perceptions and essences, because it's hard to explain when we're only looking at one thing and we're not looking at the baseline behind it, because it's an energy that we're carrying, right? It's an energy that we're touching and that we're continuing to basically tap into or like look at. So that's my old skin, is that comparison that I give where I look at other people's content, but it's like it's the energy. I really hope this makes sense, but it's the energy below that, or basically behind it. It's like reading in between the lines, right? So like I look at a photographer's stuff and then I look at my stuff and I'm like, it's just not it, you know, like it's not, why isn't it like that good? And then that's that energy of my old self that I'm shedding. So like when I'm hitting that energy, like it's almost like the new me sees how incredible this content is that I craft and that I make and that I get to put out, because it's like so full of my soul. And then I hit that old edge of me that's like, because I'm wiggling out of that skin right now, right? And you are too. And I don't know why this message is coming through this way, where I'm really using myself as an example, but like sometimes you just gotta lay it all out there for everyone, right? Like lay it bare. But like wiggling through, like it's that essence, right? I just got the most uncomfortable energy. Whew. And that's that like old skin that's being let go of. And so you have this in your life in some way, otherwise this message like wouldn't be coming through, right? Oh, that energy just got so uncomfortable. Breathe, it's okay. Right. But like, that's that skin. So that's like, it's what you're letting go of. And even though it's coming to the surface and rising and making you uncomfortable, it's because you're moving out of it. And I feel like that's just like, it's such a prominent energy, because like I know that it's heavy right now. I know that the energy's heavy right now. And it's not just me. I know it's everyone too. Like that sense of like how mean you've been to yourself, and like the shedding of this old skin. It's so uncomfortable, and it's like, it's uncomfortable because it's obviously not meant to be there, but if you're not willing to look at it, like for me, like seeing that skin and like being here and like talking to you about it, like being like, yeah, like I still do that, like I'm looking at it, right? So like take this as like an idea or a concept of like, what are you moving through that you're not looking at, you know what I mean? Whew, that's some bright light. Seriously. But that's that old, because like if I'm willing to look at it, then I'm willing to let it go. But if you're not willing to look at it, you're not willing to let it go. And so I get the opportunity, right, to like see this happening and see the essence behind this and move through it with you guys. Like this is, you guys don't realize how much these videos help me too, because like I get to talk about the essence of the energy behind what's going on, and then I get to like review. So it's almost like this energy that's like mass for all of us, because we're all moving through it. Because again, like reference back to that new earth, like this is a mass awakening that's happening, and it's happening for all of us, which is why there are beings like me that exist that are speaking out at this time about this information, because we need guidance and understanding on like how to move through it is the thing, because you're gonna move through it either way. That's like the gift of being here. Like no matter what happens in humanity, like you're gonna make it through. I know that you might not believe that, but you're gonna make it through and you're gonna be okay, all right? And like it literally just started like pouring rain so beautifully as I said that, but like everything will be okay and everything will level itself out. But it's more about like the moving in the journey. And I feel like, especially with like the time that we live in, there's just like so much projection on like being there. And right now, like we're meant to be focusing on like being in it, not there, and being alive and being human and like being in a journey. I'm being told to reference Russ's album. What's it called? It's the one that matches The Alchemist. I don't know, The Alchemist could also be significant. You could love that book. You should probably read it. It's amazing. But the whole book is like, and listen to Russ's album that's linked to it. It's blue. And it looks like his face is beat up in the art. But it's all in reference to like the journey, right? Like you're on a journey, and the journey is supposed to be fun, and it's supposed to be uncomfortable, and it's supposed to have every different wave of emotion. Like the other day I was like bawling in my car, like driving home. I was just like, ah, you know? And I was like, I know that I push down my own emotions because I know that I'm programming myself, right? But then there are certain moments where I'm like, you know what? Like, I forget that I'm human and I can't be happy 24/7. Like, I can be appreciative 24/7, but I can also be sad, and I can cry, and I can scream, and I can let things out, you know? And that is like so important of the journey too, is just like remembering that you have every single emotion, and those emotions can be fun too, even though they're hard, even though they're uncomfortable. This message has just transformed so much, so fast, and like this is the longest message I've done that's like a channeled message like this. So it's been interesting. You guys are gonna have to let me know like what you think about this message, and if you've like enjoyed it, and like the information that has come through, and how much you've related, because just so crazy. I feel like that's most of the message, but it's just like there's just this energy of like, allow and face that part of you that's coming up. I know it's an old version of you, but you have to look at it. And that's just such a powerful like message. Like for me, like looking at the part of me that still looks at myself against others and being like, I see you. Like, I understand why you do that. And I understand that you really just want to feel like you're one of these amazing, talented artists also, you know, and like, you just want to feel like you're growing, and you are. And those moments do assist in growth, right? Even though they're like hard and they're old versions of us, like those old versions of us have assisted in the growth to get you to where you are right now. Like, so deeply. That's the thing. Like, even all of the examples that I've used in this specific channeled message, like so much of all those moments, like even the memories I've had, have brought me so far. Like meeting that girl, I put into the eyes of a god. Like that changed my whole life, because it shattered the idea of social media for me. And like, I'm a social media content creator. Like, I needed that so badly. Like, cause I thought people were not just people, you know? Like, I had this weird perception that people were above each other, and that they were ranked on different levels. And like, it's totally just, it's all false. And social media is a game, and it's fake. It's all fake, guys. Everything's a game. But like, that was so necessary for me, even though that was like, I was so heartbroken throughout all that time, like especially like meeting someone that I had projected so much of myself onto, or my highest self onto, and then I thought she was gonna act in the ways that my highest self would have, but she didn't, because she wasn't me, she was her. And that was okay, but it taught me so much, but it was so hard. I just remember being so heartbroken. Like, I used to have an online magazine that I did, and I wrote like a whole like article about that experience of like, one time she just like ripped me a new one, which actually I appreciate now, even though like back then it was such a hard thing, because she was ripping me a new one in a weird way that was totally not cool. But like, it was still cool. Like, to be ripped a new one by someone that like I looked up to be told like, get your fucking head out of the gutter, you know, like look at your life. Like, she basically was like, don't become a me. Like, looking at me, because like we all experience ourselves from like other people, right? And so for me, like, I was a younger version of her, and she was basically talking to herself. But I was listening, and I was like, whoa, like, I don't know you, you know? And that like brought so much awareness to myself, just in ways that like helped me shatter these molds that I was existing within to become this person, right? And so you guys have these things too, where like these certain moments, especially the hard ones, which is just so funny, and like so many people like don't we all look down on the hard moments, but like those moments literally craft you. Like you just imagine like a sculpture, right? Like a sculpture that's like so fantastic, and like you have to think of the hard moments as like when someone takes a huge fucking chunk out of that sculpture. And like it's so weird because it just removes like so much of what used to fill the space, and then you have to adjust. But that's like, that is what builds the magic that you are, right? That is what builds all of the little edges of your soul that are like, well, not your soul technically, your current lifetime essence, which isn't all of your soul, it's part of it. But like that's what crafts that, right? And that's what makes you so like unique, and also like gives you these certain perspectives that like are meant to be heard. Like anyone watching this video, if you're still here, like I don't think you understand, like I'm talking, but like your story is meant to be heard. Like just the way that I'm talking about mine, like your story is just as prominent. And like the things that you have to share, like I want to end this message out with like, I want to share something with you guys from someone that messaged me that I just think is so goddamn cool. I hope she doesn't mind me sharing it, but it's an email that I got. I won't give a name, but just like the voices that you guys have and the things that you can share and put out into this world, like, and I hope you guys know I read every single email I get. I just get so many that I don't respond to them, but like I literally, like, I read them all and I receive you guys. Like, I totally see it, and I love the emails. So if you guys want to keep sending the emails, send the emails, because I actually fully believe that like every single time we get to share our story or write something out, we are practicing that mold. We are basically molding our own essence into the essence that can help the most people, and that's what you guys are doing. So like, send the emails. I love the emails. Okay. Okay, I feel like I've gone on for so long. Let me just, okay, hi. The camera was about to cut out, but I'm gonna end this video now because I've just been like, this has been the wildest channeled message. I didn't even know. I woke up this morning and I was like, see, now we're really hanging out. I woke up this morning and I was feeling so unsure, and I spent last night like, just like triggered because I was like editing for like 5 hours, and then I like, went on social media and was looking at my favorite photographers, got super triggered, and I was like, oh, I have to shut my computer, I can't edit anymore. And so I like went to bed in this like weird energy, even though like I still pray and say thank you for everything every day, and like the recognition that I get to experience, like that's just what I've found to like make life so beautiful and fun. Of course, like the battery is about to die now too. Let me just change it. This video is already so long, I just feel like it doesn't even matter if like we keep going. But I just want to talk for a minute. Okay, hi, I changed the battery. Okay, so anyways, I like woke up all weird and I was like, I don't even know if I'm in a channel today. I don't know if I have anything to say at all. Look at what just came out. Are you guys kidding me? This is like why you should challenge yourselves to like do something even when you don't know if anything's gonna come through or if it's gonna like vibe. Like, do it anyways. Like, just challenge yourself, okay? And I'm gonna share this email because this is fucking cool. So this girl messaged me. It's just so cool. I'm gonna read it to you guys. She said, "Dear the most lovely Freya, I can't even begin to explain the synchronicities I've experienced since watching your channel. It's absolutely wild. This is just a short list that only scratches the surface. In one of your videos, you said something like, whoa, 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 I feel a masculine energy on my right side out of nowhere. I looked to my right and immediately locked eyes with a poem my brother framed from when our dad passed. I Carry Your Heart With Me by E.E. Cummings. I felt the craziest energy, like my dad was there. He was literally on my right-hand side. So crazy, okay? And then she said, these are bullet points. She said, you introduced me to Signs by Laura Lynn Jackson. The first story she tells is about a young boy who wants to send a poem to his mother. Guess which poem? The exact same E.E. Cummings poem. I've had this intuitive feeling that things are going to change soon, like an impending bliss instead of impending doom. I have a channel of my own, and I know I'm meant to pour more energy into it this summer." She is. Every time you talk about following your heart's direction, my entire body tingles and my heart feels like it wants to leap out of my chest with joy. I got my first ever digital product sale while watching one of your videos. Guys, this is so crazy. It just gets crazier. And the product, something related to power and shifting energy. I cannot believe that you mentioned 2019 in your latest video as the time things started shifting from the collective, or for the collective. In late 2019, I was a high school sophomore, tangled in a bad friend group. Some of them are now not doing so well. When COVID hit, I decided to distance myself and completely change my path. That exact year, I look back on it with so much fondness. And just for fun, a few weeks ago, you mentioned Mewtwo in an energy video. It sent me down a rabbit hole of Mewtwo's Google searches. He used to be my favorite Pokemon. While I was watching your video, my boyfriend randomly said, I feel like after I lift, my legs look like Mewtwo. We've never talked about Pokemon before. I just stared at him, like, I don't think I've ever written such a long email. I had to share with you how much your videos mean. And then I responded, and I never really respond to ever to videos. I think I've responded to 2. So just so you guys know, like, I don't respond, but I read them all. But anyways, like, her and I are having a conversation now, which is just so dang cool. And like that video itself, or that message itself, like that lit me up. Like to see, like, I wrote this thing that's gonna go in one of my books, because I'm writing a book kind of like, one of my favorite authors is Brianna Wiest, and she just writes like, and also like Paulo Coelho, he also writes books like this, but they're just like reminders, right? They're like little channeled reminders and like concepts. And so I wrote this to go in one of my books. I said, you do not realize the synchronicity God makes of you when you simply listen and act on your intuitive whispers. That's so good. But anyways, so I wrote that after she sent me that message, and I was like, wow, like there's just so much synchronicity, and like you guys just don't realize how powerful you actually are, and like how God is working through you. And like we all know that I don't really believe in like the concept of God. Like I don't like that concept. Period blank. I believe in the gods, and I believe in angels, and I believe in source. But yeah, like just the way that energy can move through you, and like the synchronicities that happen in life around you, and like you just don't realize how much you're being used as a vessel, because like I would never have known that all those things were happening for her if she didn't tell me, right? Like I would just be out here do. Why does Angel want me to talk about me too? Okay. You know, like there's just like little things that you just don't realize are like being plugged through you. And so again, like coming back to like, you guys have these insane stories that you just don't realize you have. So like keep working on them, sharing them. And if you're not ready to share, like everyone has their time. You don't have to be like in a specific position to share. Just like practice though. Like that's what life is. It's like, ooh, confirmation, consistent practice of like talking. Like I've been doing social media for 10 years, over 10 years. And now I'm finally like talking, right? Like it took me so long to even just like come through and like be so authentic in my voice. And that's because I had to practice. I had to practice so much, like in order to come to this place where I can just like be authentic and be myself, right? And that's just like what's so prominent is like your voices and your journeys and your stories matter. Like I think that we should, that's like one of my deep beliefs is like bringing storytelling back into the world, because like that's how the old civilizations used to exist. Like storytelling was everything, and I want to bring that back, right? I want to be living existence of bringing that back. And that's like, that's why these messages are so cool too, because like they're not classic tarot readings, they're storytelling. They're storytelling of essence and energy and community, and like they connect us because they're just like so they're so specific and so diverse at the same time, right? And so it's just so interesting, but it's like storytelling. It's like how you truly can connect with people. And yeah, so just like remember that you can just practice. Like you don't have to be on some stage. You don't have to like make an account or anything. Like even if all you're doing is journaling, that's practice too, okay? Like, and journaling is actually one of the coolest practices because like you get to look back and be like, whoa, look how much I've changed in the way that I think and the way that I process and the way that I choose to write my reality, right? Because like journaling, in my opinion, is writing your reality. I've been going on for a very long time in this video, so I'm gonna end it. But I just wanted to share that stuff with you guys because yeah, there's just been some really cool stuff, and like things like that, like even that message specifically, like just like breathes so much love and light into me to want to continue doing this and sharing this and just rambling and like talking about all the things, even when spirits like talk about this random thing, like, and I'm like, okay, I'll just like mention this random thing. Like you just listening to those little whispers of essence, right? And like letting them move through you and like learning to hear them and like practicing speaking. Like just keep doing that because you don't have to be talking to anyone directly, and more than anything you want to be talking to you. Like talking to yourself is like the truest form of authenticity and perspective, so just try doing that, right? Okay, the sun's getting funny. All right, I love you guys so much, and if this message resonated with you, please do let me know. And my heart's just so full. I love you guys. Send me all the synchronicities and emails, and I love you. I love you so much. Thank you guys for listening, and I will see you in the next message. Bye.